My name is Eliza. I'm 42 years old. I'm a stay-at-home mom with 2 kids. One's 14, the other 9. We live in a small suburb in Ohio, on the 2nd floor of an old 3-story apartment building. I gave my life to my husband and my kids. I left my job for them, spent years inside these walls. But this story, it's not just about a housewife. It's about a woman finding her way back to herself. That morning, I opened the window. The gray sky was reflecting off the apartment wall across from us. A plastic chair on my little balcony was rocking in the wind. While I put water on for tea, Mark walked into the kitchen. His eyes looked tired. "There's still no word," he said. And in that one sentence, I could feel how quiet a whole house can become. Mark had worked at the same factory for 17 years. Then one morning, he got a letter that said, "Due to restructuring, your position has been terminated." And just like that, we were out. We lost our income, our health insurance, our routine. I had already quit working years ago. Mark always said, "You stay home. It's better for the kids." So I did. I gave it everything. But now, all of it, the unpaid bills, the job rejections, the weight of holding everyone together, it was all slipping through my fingers. And while writing a grocery list, it hit me. Crossed off meat, took out fruit, replaced milk with powdered formula. And I stared at that list, and I saw my life. This wasn't just a shopping list. It was a list of all the things I'd been told to erase. The next morning, I stepped out onto the balcony. In the corner sat an old, forgotten pot of basil. The soil was cracked, dried out. But right in the middle stood a single stubborn green stem. Whenever I feel like giving up, the earth seems to whisper, "Not yet." I grabbed the pot, loosened the soil with my hands, cut up plastic bottles to make little planters, planted some thyme, some mint, washed old jars, let my hands soak up that earthy smell. That day, something grew on my balcony for the first time. But it wasn't just herbs, it was me. I was beginning to grow too. That night, I made plain pasta for the kids, sprinkled some fresh basil on top. My daughter took a bite, paused, and said, "Mom, this smells different." And for the first time that week, I smiled. A week later, my neighbor Marlene knocked on the door. "Your herbs are all anyone's talking about," she laughed. "Can I get a little basil?" I handed her some, and as she turned to leave, she added, "I'll give you $5. They're really amazing." That moment, it lit something inside me. Someone was willing to pay for something I had grown. And after so many years, I didn't just feel like mom. I felt like someone who could create again. That $5 bill sparked a fire in me. The orders started rolling in. Cut up bottles, ribbons, old jam jars. Every corner of our home turned into a little workshop. But not everyone liked the change. One day, a kid playing downstairs looked up and shouted, "Is this a jiggle? What's that smell?" The next morning, his mom showed up at my door. "Eliza, can you clean up your balcony a little? The smell is coming into our apartment." I avoided her eyes. That night, I cried, quietly, deeply. Then, Mark said it. "Maybe you've gone too far, Eliza. You're making a mess of the house for a few bucks." And something in me broke. But then I thought, it's not the money I'm earning. It's the version of me I'm reclaiming. One morning, I stepped out and found my balcony wrecked. Pots knocked over. Soil everywhere. Wind? Or someone? I still don't know. But I knew one thing for sure. I wasn't going to quit. As I started scooping the dirt back in, my little boy came out and joined me. His tiny hands touched the muddy ground. "Mom, we'll do it again. Let's fix it together." And right then, I realized this wasn't just about plants. This was my rebirth. My voice reaches farther. I opened an Instagram page. My daughter took the photos, My son wrote the labels. We were a team, we were a family, and we were building something together. The first order came from Ohio. Then someone from Michigan messaged me. My mom has Alzheimer's. She doesn't remember anything. But when she smelled your rosemary, she said, "This is what my mom used to make." Her eyes teared up. Reading that message, my heart trembled. I wasn't just sending herbs. I was sending memory. I was sending hope. One night, Mark sat next to me in silence, then quietly said, "Should we build a rack for the pots? Might help organize things." I looked into his eyes, didn't say a word, but inside, I thought, this isn't just about a shelf. This is him rebuilding the bridge between us. This is him finally seeing me. Exactly 1 year later, I rented a small space. Secondhand shelves, handmade jars, ribbon-wrapped teas, handwritten labels. Everything came from my hands, from my heart. I hung the sign outside, Eliza's balcony. But inside, it wasn't just herbs. It was the voice of a woman who refused to disappear. And the very first thing I placed on the shelf? That $5 bill. I had it framed. Because that wasn't money. It was my very first step toward standing on my own again. Maya, I wanted to share this story on your channel. Because I know, somewhere out there, a woman is watching this with a grocery list in her hand. Maybe her kitchen is empty, but her heart is still full. Maybe she has a balcony. Or maybe just a tiny spark inside her. That day, I didn't just water my plants. I watered myself. And here I am now. Thank you, Maya, because this isn't just a channel, it's an echo. And when one woman finds her voice, that whisper becomes a wave.
Eliza, your story isn't humble as soil, but as deep as its roots. You showed us what can grow from a single pot. You reminded us that invisible work can still bloom into something beautiful. This wasn't just a balcony, it was where a woman rebuilt her identity. To every woman watching, maybe you don't have a balcony, but maybe you have an idea, a window corner, a little faith. And maybe Eliza's story is where yours begins too. She's not alone, and neither are you. Real women, real stories. Share yours or find your voice in hers. This is sisterhood. This is strength.